Hello everyone, the solar eclipse on the 25th of October occurs in Libra, and 2 weeks later we have the full moon lunar eclipse occurring in the warlike sign of Aries, where the moon and Rahu are in conjunction. It's a very karmic turning point in world affairs, everybody, because Saturn, now at the end of the sign of Capricorn, is directly impacting these eclipses. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to sub below, and if the video is good for you, of course, give it a thumbs up. Let's begin. Let's start with the visibility, everyone. It's very important for prediction. Solar eclipse, 25th of October, as you can see, is like a big spotlight over Europe, particularly Eastern Europe and parts of Russia. Northeastern Africa, Middle East and India also included. Now, the total lunar eclipse, 7th, 8th of November, has a much wider area. It's visible in most of Asia, Australia, Antarctica, North America, top of South America, and northeastern Europe there, just off the map. One point, everybody, avoid viewing either solar or lunar eclipse. If it is visible where you are, it is never auspicious, always best not to do so. Let's look at the astrology, everybody. Solar eclipse, 25th of October, what a total turning point. Two things in the chart show us this very clearly. First of all, Sun is eclipsed in his debilitated sign of Libra, and he is eclipsed with Venus exactly combusted and conjunct here. Venus is Lord of Libra. When the dispositor, Lord of the eclipse, is also eclipsed, this is a dramatic turning point. But there's another factor as well. Only one planet is truly exalted in this sign, gives the best results. It is Saturn. And this time, he is having a dramatic 10th aspect right onto this eclipse, saying that this is a karmic turning point from which there is no going back. Now, Libra is a sign of decision, where you weigh things up on those scales. Libra is the scales. But unfortunately, most Librans, by the way, have a big difficulty making decisions. And when you have a solar eclipse in this sign, everybody will be gripped with indecision, because the sudden events and changes taking place at the solar eclipse seem to demand action. It's probably a good thing that we don't take it straight away. So whatever you do around the end of October, let events unfold. Don't take precipitous action. But it isn't just about personal decisions, everyone, because the sun rules governments and leaders, the king, if you like, and the sun is in the sign of his debilitation and eclipsed. So governments may be not able to react properly to difficult and crisis situation which may develop around solar eclipse. Governments are also gripped with indecision. However, all of this changes on the 8th of November, the 7th, 8th of November, when events that happen around the lunar eclipse will dramatically force action from governments and from everybody, because it's an emotional cathartic factor. And most importantly, it's going to involve a complete new direction forced on everybody by Saturn. Shani is now driving this whole eclipse. Can you see, everybody? He is squaring exactly the sun, exactly the moon. He is having the power of the karmas. And in this T-square formation, Saturn's sight is definitely set on the sign of Cancer. Cancer is the sign of the home, country, security, well-being, mother, feeling that we belong. So everybody's sense of belonging is being shook up, okay? So everybody's going to feel quite insecure around this lunar eclipse, but a new direction in everybody's life, giving correct place, correct security, is going to come out of this difficult and challenging situation. So property deals, buying, selling property, landed interest, all of these things are completely up in the air and very unstable at this lunar eclipse. Same goes for all business and financial dealings, because Mercury has now left his own sign and is actually combusted exactly with the sun in this lunar eclipse. So do not take any new business deals, financial transactions, stock market dealing. It's all going to be completely unstable and totally unpredictable. And of course, because of Mercury's involvement in the eclipse, travel also becomes very difficult and subject to all sorts of confusion and delays. Finally, but definitely not of least importance, I've just shown you how the solar eclipse highlighted Europe in a huge way, and Russia also. Now, this solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, is a cycle of events going together, directly impacting Ukraine war situation in a dramatic way, and also the chart of Vladimir Putin. Let's have a quick look at this. Here are the charts of Ukraine itself, with the D1 birth chart on this side and the Navamsa D9 here. In the yellow boxes are the houses of the eclipse. As you can see, in the D1 birth chart, it's highlighting 5th, 11th house, but the 5th house contains Aries. Aries is the Aruda Lagna. This is a very special thing in the Vedic system. It is like another ascendant, your face, which you show to the world. For the Ukraine, it's in a sign of Aries, so Ukraine shows a fighting spirit definitely to the world, but this is what is being eclipsed at this time. So eclipse on Aruda Lagna is very similar to eclipse on Ascendant, and please note that in the D9 chart, the eclipse does occur in Libra on the Ascendant, where Rahu and Ketu are a total turning point. And Saturn, as I've just shown you, is driving the whole eclipse for everyone. In the Ukraine chart, he's in the 2nd house, giving a sati effect because the moon is there. That's been there for some time, but now Saturn is in this eclipse almost exactly conjunct the moon as he comes to the final part of his Capricorn transit. And the moon rules the 8th house in the Ukraine chart, the house of trauma, crisis, transformation. It's a difficult turning point for certain. And look at the D9 chart where it is mirrored, because Saturn is with Mars now, transiting natal Mars, lord of the enemies, of the warfare situation in the homeland, and setting off this ascendant-descendant eclipse cycle. And of course, as I've just shown you, Saturn is looking at Cancer. Cancer in the D9 chart is the 10th house. The actual goal of security is being completely undermined. The chart of Vladimir Putin is almost in harmony, if I can use the word harmony. I don't want to use that word, but is definitely driving these events, because he is also having an eclipse in the 1st, 7th and the 5th, 11th. In his D1, it's on his ascendant with his Lord Venus, Lagnatia, lord of his whole chart, eclipsed completely, and Jupiter, not a good planet for Libra ascendant, being eclipsed in the 7th house of warfare. In Putin's D9, we see the Aruda Lagna afflicted, the face which he shows to the world, afflicted completely like ascendant is here. Very important to see also that this means that something about his decision making is impaired. I've actually talked about, haven't I, how this whole eclipse is about decision, and on his ascendant with his Lagnatia afflicted, his decision making is not good now. And who is going to advise him? The advisors, those who support us, are shown by the 5th house. 5th house is Aquarius, ruled by, of course, Shani and Rahu. But Saturn is transiting to Rahu, a ruthless and terrible transit in the 4th house of the homeland. This eclipse affects Russia directly as well through Vladimir Putin. It's a total crisis situation for sure, everybody. Don't forget, ascendant is our decision, as I've said, our intelligence, and afflicted in this eclipse, it is a most dangerous moment. Don't forget, Saturn is showing his most important aspect to Cancer during this eclipse, at the lunar eclipse particularly. And Cancer is the Aruda Lagna of Vladimir Putin. Aruda Lagna means that he shows a face to the world of wanting security for his country. But Ketu is afflicted by Saturn here, that is being completely undermined by his own very action. So his health and his intelligence to make decisions is being afflicted directly by these eclipses. Now, these eclipses, 25th of October solar, 7th, 8th of November lunar, have a definite pattern of events, a definite sequence, and we need to understand this. The solar eclipse gives a fearful energy. People become paranoid because the sun, the light of our life, has been obscured. We think something is not certain, something seems hidden. People become a little fearful and things are definitely not out in the open. This begins up to 10 days before this eclipse. So from the 15th of October, you will feel the effects of this solar eclipse. It's very important not to begin anything new on a solar eclipse or 10 days before. This is actually called shadow of the eclipse. Don't begin things, don't have important conversations, meetings, because everything is simply not going to come out into the open. It's really a time of meditation, retreat, and contemplation. At least don't do those big important things in your life around any solar eclipse. The lunar eclipse, though, is a cathartic factor because moon emotions has been eclipsed. All of a sudden, people are revealing information. Everything that was hidden here becomes out into the open. We see what's going to happen. There is no fear because it's actually come upon us, whatever it is. So sometimes we are relieved. Sometimes we are startled by this information. And the events of the lunar eclipse tend to occur very close to the date. So the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, probably not any later than that, these events occur. How to use the readings, everybody. For solar lunar eclipses, we are using Ascendant or Lagna in the birth chart, and very good also to see in the D9 chart. And of course, you can certainly read from your Vedic moon sign also to give extra depth to the reading. If you do not have correct sidereal Vedic chart, please check to the bottom of my description box to a website, Devaguru, from which you can definitely bring up your chart to see which signs you should read from. Don't use a Western horoscope. It won't work. Let's begin. For Aries ascendants, Rahu in your first house is turning your life in a whole new direction since April. And this transit, Rahu Aries K2 Libra, goes right on up until October 23. And this represents a major turning point. If you are still confused about how things are working out for you, Aries, so please check the video below to check about the Rahu K2 transit. The 25th of October solar eclipse is bringing to an end a relationship, business, or close, intimate situation in your life which has just run out of steam, basically. Now, in personal relationships, it's not always the end of the relationship, but the relationship as it is can't go on in the same way. Something has to give, and you are driving this. You may think it's coming from the other person, but it's actually coming from you because Rahu is in your sign. So a big relationship turning point where you either stop the relationship or start it again on a completely different footing. And the spouse, partner, may be undergoing some sort of crisis also. If you are in any business situation, that has to change too because it's just not working out the way it is now. If you have consultations around your health issues, they will be very, very different to what you expected. At the lunar eclipse, there is clarity, maybe some difficult arguments, maybe some upsetting moments, but you definitely know, you and your partner know, you and your business partner know what you should do now. It's not what you would have preferred to do, but you know there is no other way. These changes turn your life in a whole new direction, opening up amazing opportunities for you personally, Aries, even though it's a big domestic and workplace upheaval too. Why? Because Saturn, as I've told you, is driving this eclipse and he's in the 10th house of your chart. So with all the Kendra houses affected in this way, because don't forget, Saturn is afflicting the 4th house, demanding domestic change, the whole structure of your life is undergoing renewal. But this is important so that you, as a very driven and independent person, make the right decisions for your future. For Taurus ascendants, it's a definite difficult turning point this for you because your Lord Venus is exactly combust here in this eclipse in the 6th house of your chart. It's a health turning point. It's a conflict resolution turning point, although it doesn't seem to be at the time. It's very important to keep yourself to yourself at this solar eclipse, because Rahu in the 12th house continues on with that transit where you're being quite secretive. You're keeping so many things to yourself. Continue on with that. Do not get into big conflicts with your work colleagues. Do not get into legal entanglements. Whatever you do, keep the temper down. Keep everything calm, despite that other people will definitely not be doing so. K2 is your 7th house lord going into this 6th house eclipse. Partner may be having health issues, sudden dilemmas may be coming up there. There may be definite issues in any business enterprise situation, definitely business partnership. Once again, you have to stay calm. Don't act dramatically and impulsively. Let things play out until the lunar eclipse to see how things will be. Certainly, lunar eclipse will clear the air. Definitely, you will see the true lay of the land now, because Moon is, of course, your co-lord going into this Rahu eclipse, 12th house. You may have to have some losses now. You may have to leave things behind that you would rather not. So it's a leaving of the past eclipse. This can be partnership wise, sometimes, occasionally, but generally it's about things which you knew were definitely coming to an end. If you are traveling at this time in foreign lands at this time, a big shake-up there in situation also happening. But it's illuminating to you. It actually is something which you can definitely deal with. But the lunar eclipse at the beginning of November, definitely travel plans probably have to be altered. There's a lot of confusion up and down around that at this time. And also, you may have conflict coming up, open conflict with co-workers, changes happening there that upset you a bit. Once again, staying calm, staying on top of this, you come through okay. Same goes for any health issues coming up now. They are coming up for complete resolution because the sun is strong in this 6th house. So do not be afraid of this lunar eclipse. As I've said, you are one of the signs who will definitely cope well with it. For Gemini ascendants, and even from the moon sign in Gemini, Rahu in the 11th is so favorable. This goes right on, by the way, this Rahu transit right up until October 23. Check the video below here to see about that transit if you've not already, because this is a confident new direction for you. But at the solar eclipse, things tip around and you have to let go of something which is just not working correctly. If you are in education, it's a definite turning point because the course as it is just not working. Something has to be transformed around that. Some of you may have a new source of income up your sleeve, but something is dragging you back, not allowing you to access it at the moment. If you have children, they're going to have difficulties, they're going to have health issues, concerns, and it's going to really take you by surprise at this solar eclipse. But hang on, wait until the lunar eclipse, you will see correct way forward. Finally, 5th house is a house of romance, new relationships coming up. These may be definitely dramatically impacted at the end of October. Once again, there's a stalemate happening, there's a lack of understanding, a complete lack of direction, and you cannot make the right decision. So real cathartic, heart-to-heart in any romantic situation at the lunar eclipse at the beginning of November. You finally know what your romantic partner thinks about you, and it all becomes very clear what future you do have or not together. So it's a real clearing of the air. Children's situation gets better because you see the real situation happening. And if you are starting a family, you can finally perhaps have some success with that. You leave behind any idea of a new job opportunity which is not right for you now. You see exactly which is the right door, and it is a very profitable thing. Rahu moon eclipse here. You leave behind one source of income and you start a completely more profitable one. It's very, very good. If you are self-employed business person, this is a great lunar eclipse for you because although it's financially unstable, as I've just explained on the video, markets are fluctuating here, you're going to come out of this stronger if you hold tight, okay? Because new opportunities present themselves to you at this time, taking you by surprise. You'll be able to make the most of them very soon, and they are certainly very, very profitable. And for students, it's a big revelation at the beginning of November. You get new information about the course, things you didn't know about. You must make a clear decision about this. You'll be able to do so because actually Rahu Moon in the 11th house gives you success in your education if you persevere, and contacts which you make while in education, network circles, are extremely profitable for you. For Cancer ascendants, Rahu transiting in your 10th house since the spring of this year, continues by the way right up until October 23, is turning the whole axis of your life upside down, and this is one of those churning moments. By the way, for the full predictions of this Rahu Aries transit for you Cancer, check below the video. At the solar eclipse at the end of October, it's really happening in your domestic life now. If you've been trying to sell a property, move home, change domestic situation, it's all going to come unstuck. It's all going to seem completely impossible. Definitely hold fire with all domestic and property deals because everything is hidden to you at the end of October during this solar eclipse that will be made very obvious 2 weeks later at the beginning of November. Of course, Moon is your Lord and directly involved in this solar eclipse. Fourth house, mother may be having issues. You may have difficult communication with the mother and her health may be in some way threatened. At the lunar eclipse, it's a very clear new direction for you because your Lord the Moon is with Rahu 10th house. There is some resolution, some final conclusion, if you like, to domestic situation, to moving. To move or not to move, you will know what to do at the lunar eclipse. Mother's health comes to some resolution. At least you can see the way forward now. So big domestic changes, big career changes. It's all moving your life forward. For Leo ascendant, Rahu in the 9th house has been revolutionizing your philosophy of life, religion, belief systems, higher education, gurus, mentors. Everyone who advises you, you are taking a different track to what they would like you to do. And this solar eclipse brings all of this conflict into focus. Expect therefore conflicts, difficulties with your siblings and even with your father during this eclipse. You're not listening to anybody else but yourself, and it's going to become pretty tense at times. There'll be stalemate situations dealing actually with your siblings' father and also with your neighborhood. People who live near to you. You are feeling misunderstood completely, and miscommunication and difficulties abound with all of these people. If you are a student, higher education has been exciting for you, but now there is miscommunication with your teachers, lecturers, advisors. Once again, don't make dramatic decisions about your course at the end of October during the solar eclipse. You definitely do not have the right information. A difficult time for dealing with any foreign affairs and for traveling at the solar and lunar eclipse. It's a difficult time because there is so much change and disruption. Well, the stalemate ends for you, Leo, in your communication with these important people, as I've just indicated, during the lunar eclipse around 7th, 8th of November. New information from your siblings, fathers, teachers, lecturers, gurus even, show you the way forward, show you that you have more opportunity than you actually thought. So there was no need for all of this miscommunication. You simply didn't have the right information. For Virgo ascendants, difficult situations in your family network, difficulty situations dealing with financial affairs now. All of a sudden, it seems like you are on a complete losing end here, and your whole financial situation becomes destabilized at this solar eclipse. But actually, it's an illusion. Rahu will transform it. Wait for 2 weeks from now. So don't make dramatic changes in your bank account, savings account, investments accounts. Don't be shocked by new information coming to you. You don't see the true picture. And watch communication with your family members. It's come up against a real stalemate at the end of October. Don't push things. Don't try to make things come into the open now. It's not the right time. And watch your eating behavior, because something around your diet definitely needs to be changed. It becomes obvious at the solar eclipse. At the full lunar eclipse, at the beginning of November, everything becomes very, very clear, particularly in regard to your financial losses. You can cut them now. You can really make big changes to your whole financial affairs, lightening the load. And the new information coming out at this lunar eclipse, 7th, 8th of November, enables you to make big decisions about your financial and job situation, definitely including foreign lands, because the sun is your 12th house lord. So business people make dramatic changes after this time. With the correct information, it's going to work out far more favorably than you could have thought. There are difficult family issues that definitely need to be spoken about. Some of you are concerned with wills, legacies, inheritances now, and you've been stuck not knowing how to deal with them openly. At the lunar eclipse, you will deal with these family affairs absolutely openly, and that's the way to go about it. Really happening for all Virgo, of course, because Rahu is your lord, is that right up until October 23, he's turning your life upside down into a new direction, changing your whole family situation, financial situation, but actually giving you a lot more power over things than you could imagine. For Libra Ascendant, it's all happening in your first house. And by the way, Libra Moon definitely feels this as well, particularly because this solar eclipse happens in such a dramatic way. You are going to, both of you, Moon and Ascendant, feel the impact of this. You have to make important decisions now. But the one thing that all Librans hate is making decisions. It's other people's behavior, business partners, spouse, close relationships, that is becoming stressful because they are doing something completely different, novel, and it's causing you enormous stress. So please watch your health. It's very vulnerable during this solar eclipse in your first house. Most importantly, because your Lord Venus is eclipsed with the solar eclipse, as I've just explained, avoid impulsive decisions. Avoid being pushed into a corner to make a decision. At this solar eclipse, you can make a big mistake because K2 is in your first house. And at the lunar eclipse at the beginning of November, it's like a dam breaks in your life and all the emotions come spilling out because this tense domestic situation is going to require agreement and consideration. So Moon Rahu means that your spouse speaks to you openly now. Finally, you can really say what you want to say to each other. It may be hard to do so, but it's absolutely necessary. In business, self-employment, or any situation dealing with market forces, it's much more difficult because factors beyond your control take over and you have to make significant changes starting at this lunar eclipse, but they will be profitable long term. And the pressure somewhat lifts on your health situation as well because Rahu Moon shows new consultation, new ideas, new remedies coming into your orbit. For Scorpio Ascendant, this is a very important solar eclipse because it comes right in the middle of the cycle of Rahu in your 6th house, a very favorable factor. Rahu is giving you control over very difficult factors of your life, making you move forward with important plans. But this solar eclipse, focusing on the 12th house, means that you have to let go of a little bit of control around this time. So if you are traveling into foreign lands, expect everything to go completely chaotic. And as for expenses, they are simply spiraling out of control. It's a fantastic eclipse for pilgrimage, for inner journey, meditation, getting to know what your real deep needs are in this life. This solar eclipse brings everything to the surface. Venus is your 7th house lord. K2 is your lord. So Venus and K2 meeting together in your 12th house during this eclipse, there may be some difficulty. Spouse may be having sickness. Spouse may be having problems. You may be traveling with a spouse and there can be unexpected factors coming up. At the lunar eclipse, your health takes a dramatic turn, probably for the better, because you finally understand that something you were doing health-wise was not helping you at all. So it's a dramatic move forward in your health situation and in your workplace dilemma as well. There will be a little bit of an emotional confrontation with work colleagues, no doubt, during this lunar eclipse. Unknown factors become known to you. You are surprised and actually quite emotional about this. But knowing this makes you certain if you really want to stay in this work situation or not. Make whatever changes you have to make directly after the lunar eclipse. It's quite emotional with your partner as well, because Venus is still involved in this eclipse, Lord of your 7th house. Partner's health situation continues and you have to see to that as well. So it's a very stressful, full-on lunar eclipse cycle, but actually you become in control of it. You find a way to actually make all of these difficulties come around. People are depending on you. You get a lot of strength from these eclipses. Sagittarius ascendants, well, the eclipse is happening in the 11th house of your chart. It's around network circles, friendship circles, unexpected events happening there, shake you up a little bit and turn you in actually a new direction. In addition to shakeups in your network circles, in your work situation with your colleagues, with your co-workers, it gets very sticky indeed. And a different attitude to work is necessary during this solar eclipse. You have to let go of a job situation which you'd hope to have. Something around that is not working out correctly, but new opportunity will come. Wait till the lunar eclipse to see how the lay of the land will be. Financially, the solar eclipse time, the end of October, is extremely stressful because Saturn continues in the 2nd house of your finances, and now having a 10th aspect onto this 11th house solar eclipse, you feel that you've lost a vital source of income. Something better is definitely coming up. As I say, wait until the lunar eclipse to see those opportunities. The lunar eclipse highlights definitely the income situation from a new job opportunity. Difficulties with government, boss, agencies such as this cause you some distress because the truth of the situation becomes really open to you. But Rahu Moon in your 5th house gives you creative solution to all of this situation. The lunar eclipse is in the house of children, so if you should have children, they may have surprising revelations for you according to their age, of course. And if you are trying to start a family, things may take a really dramatic turn at this lunar eclipse. Even unexpected pregnancy could occur. In education matters, students have surprising revelations happening definitely with this lunar eclipse, taking you completely by surprise. But here's the thing, don't make dramatic changes. Rahu, 5th house, is not the best situation for changing education. Once you are on the course, try to see it through with this transit. New romances starting off around this time are going to be dramatically different to anything which you've had before, and they're going to cause you some emotional upset around lunar eclipse. You're going to find out something about this new romance that you did not know before, probably from your network circles. And dramatic factors happen with your partner because Mercury is connected to this eclipse, being in this 11th house, as I have just shown you with the lunar eclipse. So expect that partner's got interesting things to say to you, and it's all very surprising, but this open, even cathartic conversation between you is going to be very helpful. Capricorn ascendant, what a major change is about to happen now. Shani's been in your 1st house for almost 2.5 years. Rahu has been in your 4th house since April. So these two malefics are turning the cog of your life in a new direction, but it is not comfortable for you. You feel a little bit out of control. Solar eclipse at the end of October is happening in the 10th house of your chart. There could be loss of position, loss of job, change in your whole job situation, change with a boss, superior, which is totally difficult for you. It's a very difficult situation where you just have to let go of what is not working for you. Of course, the 8th house lord is the sun in your chart, so being in this dramatic eclipse here, you could take a completely different career direction, leaving the past totally behind, or you could even retire, some of you, under this influence. And the lunar eclipse, beginning of November, takes place in your 4th house. This is quite important because it's about home-work balance, this whole eclipse cycle. And now some of you make a big decision about domestic relocation, etc. But have caution. Rahu, 4th house, is not the easiest influence to make big home moves with. take consultation, particularly of significant others, because Moon is your 7th house lord. However, some of you are very likely to be doing exactly that at this whole eclipse cycle, because eclipses move on your life in that way. But at this lunar eclipse, beginning of November, new information comes up that really puts a bit of a hitch into those plans. You may have to think twice about it or change things in some way. And your mother's situation can become a little bit dramatic also. She can have health issues at this lunar eclipse. But watch your health, because Saturn, 1st house, you take on so much responsibility, make so many dramatic changes that it can impact you as well. For Aquarius ascendants, Rahu is your lord. He's in the 3rd house of your chart now, right up until October 23. He's giving you power to make tremendous new endeavors in your life work. Business situations, job situations, all sorts of shake-up. You are in control of them. But at the solar eclipse, it looks as though you've completely lost all of this control, and it's going to make you very nervous indeed. First of all, if you are in education, there's a complete change around on your course, which is completely unexpected, and you feel as though you just can't keep up with it anymore. There may be family issues involving father and siblings as well that become extremely tense, with real disagreements and differences of opinion. Father may be having health issues also, and it's a very, very tense situation. It's definitely a very difficult time for foreign travel or any sort of travel at all for all Aquarians at the end of October. At the full moon lunar eclipse, communications make it very clear what your route is. Talking to teachers, mentors, gurus, even some of you, make you determined to just ditch the whole learning experience and go on your own sweet way. Many of you will decide to do this. But actually, for you Aquarius, these lunar eclipses and solar eclipses happening in your 3rd, 9th house are empowering, because Rahu is your lord, don't forget. So you get information, particularly at the beginning of November, from your family members, from your neighborhood, people living close to you, which is essential to you. Some of you, it's certainly emotional transformation because father's health, as I say, may be dramatically impacted here. But communications with your siblings have needed resolution, and they will definitely happen at this time. So at these eclipses, whereas I've just explained other people are having very difficult decisions to make, you make the right decisions. You take the right road ahead. Have no fear. And you could actually give valuable advice to other people also at this time. For Pisces ascendant, difficult family situations, financial deals and business situations coming to a crescendo now. Financial decisions have to be made at this time. But as I say, decisions are hard at this solar eclipse. Don't make any dramatic investment changes to your savings account. Don't do anything financially until at least the lunar eclipse gives you the full picture. Because your 3rd house lord, Venus, lord of your siblings, is involved. Siblings may be having difficult situations. You may have difficult conversations with them, and it can be extremely tense dealing with them during the whole of this eclipse cycle. All of your joint financial situations are coming to a crescendo now with your spouse. That needs to be looked at very, very carefully, how you are managing that. And if you are a business person, business may even have to come to a dramatic end at this time. At the very least, something around the business has to change. Solar eclipse 8th house is never easy because something comes to a natural end that you sort of knew would happen, but you were hoping would not be so soon. So be very brave around this time, Pisces. Let things be. Don't become too upset, because don't forget, Rahu from the end of next year comes into your 1st house, showing a whole new cycle in your life. The lunar eclipse, to say that emotions come out into the open is an understatement in your chart, Pisces. Rahu moon eclipse in the 2nd house of speech. Watch your speech though, because you want to say maybe more than you should say at this time. Express feelings, but be considerate as well, and things will be much easier. But the lunar eclipse in your second house will rejuvenate your security long term. What you'll be doing first of all is you'll be going around the house. Definitely you'll be decluttering everything, checking out what is not necessary to you anymore. This is good. You may even make dramatic changes in your eating behavior, in your diet, and this will also be very favorable long term. Check out all the other current transits happening affecting your sign right now up on your screen. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to sub below. Goodbye for now and God bless everyone.